Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We're featuring UnForm. And with us today, we've got Paul Buchel from UnForm. He's going to share some information with you about their business process automation. Jason Nackstat and I'm Libby Beamer from
Hello.
Aktion Associates. You've got both of us today. We're going to share a little bit about the Aktion story. But before we get started, I do want to let you know that we definitely want to hear from you and we want to get your feedback on this presentation. And we definitely want you to ask questions of Paul. I know he's prepared to answer questions, and we've done these in the past, but we've actually got quite a few people, quite a few of our customers are on this webcast. So thank you for taking time out of your day. And I'm sure you'll find this extremely valuable. So how you can engage with us is to use the Q&A pane of On24 and just submit your question that way. I'll be monitoring all those questions, and we'll, as soon as Paul's finished with his demo and we go through the PowerPoint, it'll be about 30 minutes. We'll share those questions with Paul and he'll answer them for you. And if you have any technical issues, you can try to restart a little bit. Sometimes there can be a little bit of a lag, especially if you're wireless. So just refresh your browser and that usually resolves your issue. So those are that's the technical side of things that will usually fix everything. But just make sure that you follow along, and as you have any questions, just ask them in the Q&A pane. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I do want to give everybody a little bit of feedback and input on our partnership with UnForm. And so Aktion has, we've been around a long time, since I'm sorry, Paul. There's an overview of who Paul is. So he'll be doing the demo and covering UnForm. So he's our presenter for today. He's our sole presenter, so it's all Paul. But as we get into this, and we'll go ahead and just share a little bit about the partnership with UnForm and Aktion. So Aktion's been around, and as our customers know, you've probably been a customer of ours for a very long time, and we greatly appreciate that. We try to make sure that we partner with, and we absolutely do this, with businesses who are going to deliver that value to you. And that's what our partnership with SDSI and UnForm is all about, in delivering and extending the value of your Infor application. And they're a tier 1 partner for us. That's what we call them. We partner with them exclusively, and we make sure that we understand their tool just like they understand our customers. So it is a long-standing relationship. It is a valuable partnership for Aktion, and it is for you as well. And so we want you to know that this is a partnership that they absolutely understand your Infor ERP software, and as do we, and we'll make sure that the tool will run flawlessly for you. So just want to make sure you understand that partnership with Aktion and SDSI. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Paul, and he's going to cover a little bit more information about UnForm.
Thank you all. I'm going to shut this off for now so don't run into any bandwidth issues. But just real quick about UnForm, been around since 1988. We've got a variety of applications with about 10,000 installations worldwide. And we've got what we're going to focus on today is the UnForm document management solution. We've got about 2,000 plus Infor customers. I think it's actually quite a few more than that, but we've been working with them for 25 years. The solutions are available for all of the ERPs that Infor has. So, Fax, A+, SXE, and Cloud Suite. What we're going to talk about today is the tools we've developed to help automate different business processes. And what, big part of what we've done is automate the capturing of documents. So we've built a variety of tools that allow you to quickly and easily capture and index documents and store them into the document repository. And then what we've also done is develop the ability to extract data from documents as well. So an example of that would be an inbound supplier or vendor invoice. We can pull the data off of that document and turn it into an electronic transaction to eliminate the data entry piece of processing that transaction. So pull the data off the document, format it appropriately for whatever the target ERP is, and push it into the ERP so you don't have to sit there and do data entry all day. And we've also got a DocFlow application that allows you to route documents based on whatever the process is. So it may be routing expense type invoices for approvals. It could be supplier invoices that have failed the three-way match that need to be routed around, to the buyers and to the warehouse for problem resolution. But you can use it, to build flows based on whatever your particular process is. Just kind of from a high level, we've got, again, a variety of applications. A lot of you are probably using our print management tool today that allows you to take the data from your ERP and create professional forms and reports with it that you can then, print, email. If you're still faxing, you can still fax and get them to where they need to be. We also have an archive solution. That's our document repository. So documents are stored in the archive, and as they are stored, they're automatically linked together based on common indexing information. So if it shares the same order number or PO number, invoice number across the documents, they're all linked together regardless of how and when they come in to the archive. So it's very easy to find, an entire transaction when you need to research and resolve issues. Image Manager is the tool we use to capture documents, and they could be either, external documents like packing slips from the warehouse, signed proof of deliveries. It could be vendor invoices, any of those kinds of things that are coming into the business. And we can do it a variety of ways. You can certainly scan documents if they're hard copies, but we can also monitor email boxes. So if you've got folks emailing you invoices, we can monitor a mailbox, pick those invoices up and process them automatically. So you don't have to print them out, put them on a scanner and scan them in. If it's an electronic document, we've got a way to capture it without having to print that thing out. And then any of the documents that are in the archive are available for DocFlow. So that gives you the ability, again, to route documents for approvals. You can use it to capture electronic signatures. You can use it for, again, it's a configurable application based on whatever your business process is. So it can be configured based on that. And then we'll log and track everything as it comes through the DocFlow that you have, so that you have a complete audit trail of what happened to those documents and when. And then documents that are in the archive, that we can also get the data from those documents and again, push that into an ERP, so that the idea there is that instead of spending your day keying those documents into the application, right, you can spend your day doing much more valuable work like correcting issues, tracking down problems and getting those resolved rather than just doing routine data entry. And I also want to mention too that Image Manager can be used to push documents into other repositories. So if you're using IDM or thinking about it, you can use Image Manager. It's a very cost-effective way to bring external documents in and store them in IDM as well. So what we're going to be looking at today is functionality that's in version 10 and up. We're currently on version 10.1, but this is all version 10 document or functionality. Version 10 is completely browser-based, so you don't have to do installs on workstations. The work when it's coming in, if you're bringing in and indexing documents, all that's done on the server side. So again, you don't have to do installs on everybody's desktop. And the focus in version 10 was automation. So I'll step you through what all that means in just a minute, but the goal here is to minimize or eliminate data entry, whether you're indexing documents into the archive or whether you're extracting information and creating an electronic transaction out of a document. The automation starts with what we call inbound sources. Those can be either directories or email boxes that we monitor, and you can have aliases on the email address. So you could have one email address with multiple inbound sources for us. And that'll make a little more sense as we get through it. And again, they're all configurable. The inbound source, again, could be an email address, it can be a directory. And then based on that particular source, we can define what actions need to take place on those particular types of documents. And jobs can be configured to either fully or partially automate whatever the process is. And we use a variety of tools to do that. So we have the ability to look up information in the ERP, and that may be looking up data that may need to be included in the indexing information. So, maybe once we, if we read an order number off of a document, from there we can look up the other information we need out of the ERP and populate that information so that, again, it eliminates the need to have to key in additional data. And it may also be used to validate information. So is this PO number, vendor number, is it a valid, purchase order? So we can help validate data we're grabbing as well. You can do click to fill, so you can click on a value on a document and fill in that value. We've got barcode recognition, certainly. And then documents that are generated from an application, like you would out of either SX or fax. Those documents are typically PDFs that have a text layer on it. In an example like that, we can read that text directly off that document. We do not have to run an OCR engine against it. So it's a very, very accurate way to pull data off of a document. If the document is an image, we have an AI-driven OCR engine that reads that data off of it extremely accurately. So it is production quality OCR when it runs through that. But the nice thing is you only need to use OCR where you need to. You don't have to, it's not an all or nothing kind of thing. Now, what we're going to do is go through a quick demo. I'm going to step through the software. I'm going to show you a couple of things: vendor invoice automation, some routing and approvals, and things like that. So let me start my share here. Make sure we're good. So this is the main page, UnForm page. So this is, again, it's browser-based, so all the different applications are here. So archive is where we store documents and link them all together. Server manager is where you go in and do admin type stuff. The design tool is the application used to develop your forms. So you can use that to design forms and reports. Image manager is the application used to capture documents that aren't generated by our print output. Those get captured automatically. Doc flow, we'll look at that, how to route and move those documents through a flow. So to start, let's take a quick look at archive. So archive, again, this is our repository. This is where we store all the documents. And the way we organize it is based on libraries. And a library is it's really just a logical grouping of documents based on typically a job function. So you can have an accounts payable library, an accounts receivable library, inventory, whatever that particular business process is. You can have a library built around. We have standard ones already, but you can have additional ones based on whatever your requirements are. But within a library, you find the documents typically associated with that function. So within accounts payable, you got checks, invoices, POs, those kinds of things. And then as documents come in, and they can come in a variety of ways. Back up here. So I'm searching for a document for a check that was printed. And if I pull that check up, you'll see I've got an example of that. I can email out of here if I need to, so that's available right out of the application. But note that, as this check was printed, we captured it as it was printed. It was printed through UnForm, so those just come in automatically. You don't have to do anything special to get those to come into the archive. And because this check has, the remittance portion has invoice numbers and PO numbers, all those documents are related to it. So that check was captured. It's kind of the tail end of the transaction, but because we've got invoices and POs and packing slips already in there, it links back to those, regardless of whether that invoice was scanned in or captured as an email, or, and of course the PO we can capture as it's printed. But again, because they're related, I have the ability to pull up, each of those documents that are related to this particular check and the transaction on that check. So if I'm, if it's month end, I'm tasked with reviewing and signing checks, all that documentation is available to me electronically here. So, if you kind of think about that process, when you're doing it manually, someone's probably filed and refiled some of these documents 4 or 5 times before it gets to this process. And then they're going to have to go refile that whole stack once it's done. When you capture them electronically, you only do it one time, and then it's available as needed. And also, note too that this is an awesome disaster recovery application as well. So, when you store copies of these electronically and you have a backup off-site, it's a great way to avoid, a problem if you were to have, fire or flood or something like that. So again, archive is where we've stored the documents. I can look for a specific document. I can browse across libraries and document types to find lists of documents, and I can create and reuse what we call a search. So essentially you can build a query, save it, and then reuse it as needed. So if there's a month-end process that requires gathering a bunch of documents, you can create a search and just reuse that search as needed. So again, it's archive, it's available. You can come just straight to the browser and go to archive, assuming you have a login and password to get to documents. And then we also have the ability in some of the applications to search from within an application as well. So this is an example of Cloud Suite. So within Cloud Suite, we've got these Chrome Web extensions that we can use from within an inquiry to do what we just did. So I can launch documents directly out of the application. So again, this is a Cloud Suite example. Fax, you can do the same thing as well. The next piece we're going to kind of step through is Image Manager. And again, Image Manager is where we're capturing, either documents that are external to us, packing slips, customer POs, vendor invoices, those kinds of things that are coming through. Again, anything you generate through the UnForm print engine is stored in the archive automatically. But where the automation starts with Image Manager, again, is with these inbound sources. So when we look at these, you can see an inbound source can be a directory. So you could either be dragging, dropping documents into that, and then based on the way this source is configured, you indicate what actions you want to do on those particular documents. You could be, have a shortcut on your scanner and scan to it. And you can also monitor mailboxes. So I can have an email box that I'm monitoring. So as in this one's set up to monitor for vendor invoices. As they come in, they get processed and pushed into the appropriate libraries. And I'll show you a couple of examples where we're actually pushing data into the ERP to eliminate the data entry piece of it. So again, in Image Manager, it's going to monitor mailbox. So if I So in this example, I've got, some, these are actually vendor invoices. So we're going to send them to a mailbox we're monitoring. And note to this particular document, I've got one PDF in here, but once it hits, it's actually going to break it up. So it's going to come in to Image Manager, and excuse me, you'll note that I've got check marks here. A couple of them don't. So the check marks indicate that as these documents came in, they passed what we call validation. So that means that we captured all the information that we've, flagged as required on this document to finish processing it. Typically, documents with check marks, you wouldn't see them. they just flow through. But we've got that on hold just so we can kind of step you through the process. And if you look here, you'll note, so that one PDF we had out there actually was a document that had multiple vendor invoices in it, and it breaks it up into the invoice appropriately. So you don't have to do any kind of pre-processing on those. It'll break them up as they come in. And then you'll see a couple of them don't have check marks. In this one, it's failed what we call a validation. So if you come over here, I've got this field that is highlighted. So if you float over it, it's detected that this is actually a duplicate. So we've got that a validation in here to identify whether or not this has already been processed. So what it'll do is it'll hold it as an exception. Someone can come in and take whatever corrective action is necessary for it. We're also on a couple of these, and I'll show you this as we move through. We're capturing not only the header information off of some of these documents, we're actually pulling all the line detail off of here as well. So we're getting all that information off of this document so that we can turn it into an electronic transaction. And again, that functionality, it's based on the target ERP. So, and I think, with fax, you don't have to deal with the line detail as long as totals are good. You can do them that way. So again, it's, based on whatever the particular target ERP is. With SX and CSD, it's looking for line detail. So that's what these particular ones are set up for. So again, as they hit this inbound source, we identify who sent it to us. And then based on that, we know where to go on that document to pull the data that we've flagged as required to be able to finish processing that document. So let me do this real quick. I'm going to just grab a few of these. And we'll move them over here. And again, what I'm doing now, because those had check marks, they would have gone through this process automatically. I'm just doing it for this demo. So what I'm doing now is I'm transferring these to the archive. These are also set up, this particular job is set up to also not only submit it to archive, it submits it to IDM, and it also creates the, in this example, the invoice bod that's used to bring a document into Cloud Suites for processing. So we'll go take a look at that in just a second. Some of the other things that Image Manager can do is come up here, clean this up. Sorry, I should have done this prior to the demo, but do a quick save here. So this is an example of, this gives us an example of a couple of the pieces of technology that you can use. So this is a packing slip, came in from the warehouse. This one's an exceptionally good packing slip. If you've seen some of the things that come in from the warehouse, they're not always this clean. But, in this case, I want to get this one indexed and stored. If it's a good, clean copy like this, I could either set up a zone to OCR that purchase order number off of it, or I just did what we call click and key. So I clicked on that value and it filled it in. But if it's, if it's not a good copy, I might have to key that data in. But that would be all we'd have to key on this document in the worst case scenario. Then as it goes through the process, we're going to use that lookup capability to go to the ERP and look up additional information that we need to store that document. So real quick and easy way to get this type of document, scanned in and stored. And of course, it'll be linked back to all the other documents related to this transaction based on that purchase order number. So real quick and easy way to get packing slips in. And then we also have, again, the ability to read barcodes. So in this example, the barcode represents a sales order number. Once we've captured that, again, we can look up the balance of that information from the ERP and pull it in and automate that whole process so that nobody has to do the data entry. Any exceptions would stay in Image Manager, and someone can come through and just clean those up as needed. So again, we've got you can have very complicated, well, not complicated, but you can have very advanced jobs that are not only pulling header information, but all the line item information, and you can have very simple jobs that are just looking for a value, single value off of a document to be able to pull additional information and bring that in and store it. So it's the same application for, routine indexing and storing documents, and that it's the same application that can extract data from a document and turn it into an electronic transaction to automate the data entry portion of that kind of document. So you don't have to buy multiple applications to do it. It's all the same thing. And then another piece that helps to automate processes is our DocFlow module. And again, it's configurable based on whatever your particular process is. One of the flows that kind of goes across all ERPs has to do with expense type invoices. Typically, excuse me. Flip over here. So the way the flows work is you have a flow, and within there you have roles and steps. So a role is somebody that is managing a particular step within a flow. So as documents come in to the flow, they get assigned to a role, and whoever is responsible for that role would get an email alert and say, hey, you got some stuff to do. You can click on a link in the email and it'll take you into it. But again, expense invoices, those flows are typically the same across ERPs, and it's usually someone has to approve that invoice prior to setting it up for payment. And it may be routed, it could be routed based on a department. It could be routed based on a buyer. It could be routed based on a dollar value, which is what this one is. So this one's set up so that as the dollar value on that invoice increases, it has to go to somebody else for approval. And it may have to go for 2 people or more for approval, so they can be set up that way. So as they come in, again, that flow is going to take a look at the, whatever the particular rules are for it and assign it to the appropriate role. They get an email, come in, they'd only see, the data they need to work on what they have a role in, but it will send that to them. It could have additional attachments already on it, or if you needed to, you could add an attachment. So if you had an email response about something, you can include that on it. And then actions are, again, this is the configurable part. So, this is, again, based on whatever your process is. So you could say, approve it and put it in whatever, this is where I need you to key it, the GL code. You can add notes here as well. Good. And then we're going to log it. So once I've gone through here, assigned it to and approved it, you'll see when I forward it, it will go through and it hits the next step in that particular flow. So this will alert the accounting department that this one's approved and it's ready to go. And you'll see we're logging and tracking who did it and when that happened. So that's kind of a typical flow for expense invoices. Vendor and supplier invoices are typically a little bit different. And again, depends on your ERP. So within SX and CSD, the AP process, the AP invoice center actually does a 3-way match for you. So you don't have to do that ahead of time. With other ERPs, you can create flows to help with that 3-way match process prior to doing your data entry. So again, depends on what your particular ERP is and what your process is. But in this example, we've got an invoice that has, let me find one someone hadn't been messing with, that has failed the 3-way match. So it's in a flow that's been directed back to the buyer. And then in this one, we've included a copy of the purchase order and the packing slip. So they've got all the documents they need to be able to review and do, resolve whatever the particular issue is. So that would, again, they would have received an email, clicked on a link, and it would have brought them into the flow. Configurable action, they can, approve it, hold it, deny, whatever the particular process is. And then when they save it and hit the next step, it will alert accounting that's ready to key in. Or in some cases, it may release either the EDI file or the XML file or the CSV file, depending on what the target ERP is. It could release that file so that it gets entered and ready to move along the line. So again, the flows, that's a couple examples. You can also use it for to capture signatures electronically. So you can use, let's see if I've got my signature capture in here. So you can have this, you can have, if you have drivers going out and making deliveries, they can use it to capture signatures on documents as well. And it's designed so that it can work offline. So if they don't happen to have an internet connection at the site, it'll store that information and sync back up once they have an internet connection. So it's a great tool for doing that. You can use it at the counter as well to do electronic signature captures. So archive, image manager, doc flow, and then just show you a couple of other things real quick. So if you remember our App USA documents that we ran through Image Manager, come in here. This is the AP Invoice Center. So this is an SXE Web UI and Cloud Suite AP functionality here. But you're looking here, those documents that we brought in via Image Manager that we captured it from an email, brought it through Image Manager, and the end result is that it has been entered into AP Invoice Center. And then from here, the AP Invoice Center functionality takes over. So again, nobody had to key those documents in. They're sitting in there ready to go. We've got folks doing it with inbound customer purchase orders as well. So it's a great little tool for doing that. And that is one thing I wanted to show you too real quick, last little bit. So monitoring the email. So again, you can drag and drop documents into directories and bring them in automatically. But one of the cool things with the monitored email addresses that I like is if you have customers, emailing you purchase orders, you can pull up their PO, key their order in. Once you have an order number, I can just forward their PO number with the subject of the order number. And you could have additional information in here if you needed it. But what will happen is, as that comes through, it'll get picked up. We'll use that information in the subject line to look up additional information. And it will there we go. Pull it into the archive for you. So again, it's an electronic document already. You don't need to print it out and scan it. You just forward it to one of those monitored emails and it brings it in for you. It's ready to go. So that was, Libby and Jason, that's kind of the end of the demo piece, the live demo that I was going to show. So I think we are ready to move on to you guys.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Paul. That was great information. And we have a lot of our customers are on the call today, and there's a lot of customers using different products, A+, CSV, and FAX. So with everything that you just shared with us, Paul, I want to give folks a few minutes to process everything they heard and then submit their questions and give everybody time to do that. So if you'll just hang with us a little bit longer and then we'll start addressing them. I can see a couple coming in right now.
Okay.
But while we're waiting for folks to do that, I just want to cover really quickly for our customers. You get a lot of communication from us, and I hopefully you're reading everything that we send you. I know everybody's very busy, but if there's anything that I do want to share with you is that we're committed to your success, and partnering with SDSI and UnForm and Paul is just one way we do that. And, we have a lot of initiatives going on to make sure that we're supporting you. We're always looking for other partners that we can partner with. And we're always working hard to make sure that when we implement a software for you or any technology that we're doing it, so at the end of the day, you'll come back and say, Aktion was a great partner for us, and they definitely helped us modernize our business. So from an Aktion perspective, we've been Infor's largest partner in North America for many years, and that hasn't changed. And we've actually distanced ourselves from some of the other folks. So just want to share that with you. We're continuing to add to our staff. You may have already been introduced to Dawn Bessie, our practice manager, and we're continuing to add to our staff. And actually, our Infor division is our largest division here at Aktion. So if that communicates that we're absolutely committed to your success, we definitely are. And we're going to continue to grow. Our CEO, Scott Irwin, we have a target by the end of next year to be almost 300 employees and $100 million. So I share that with you because we're not going to stop growing. We're going to continue to add the products and services to help make you successful, and we're going to continue to add staff to support you. So those are the things that I want to share with you. And as you engage with our practice managers and our consultants, just know that we're all part of the team to support you. So we can go on to the next slide. And I think this might be just some recognitions that we've gotten. We're working, not only do we know how big we are, we're getting some pretty significant recognitions within our industry, and we continue to be recognized in that way. We're one of the top, I think we're number 16 now in value-added resellers in North America. So we're committed to helping you succeed, and we're committed to helping you modernize. And so, Paul, thank you very much.
Sure.
We do have some questions. I've seen them coming in here, so I'll go ahead and I'll pivot to that. The first question, Paul, is OCR the only way UnForm captures data?
Well, no, and that's a good question. So there are a lot of applications out there that rely totally on OCR, which, works. It's come a long way and can be very accurate, but it can get expensive. Typically, there's a charge per page to do that. With UnForm, we only run OCR on documents that require it. If it's a PDF with a text layer, we just read the text directly off of that document. We don't need to run it through an OCR engine. We can get the data off of it as accurate. I mean, it's 100% accuracy getting it off that document. So again, where documents require it, we can detect whether it's a PDF with text first, and if it isn't, then we can move it to a different queue, and the OCR can pick it up from there. So again, the OCR works very well, but if all your documents are requiring OCR, it can get to be a little pricey at times.
Okay. Just had somebody walk through your Aussie walk through, Paul. You'll have to introduce him as he goes back through again.
You finished his chew point, yeah.
We love it. Another question, can Image Manager also submit documents to other document storage repositories?
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, if we've got a lot of folks that are beginning to use IDM, and it's a really, again, a very cost-effective and a very advanced and functionality-wise very capable way to push documents into IDM. So if you are looking at using IDM, you can use the UnForm Image Manager to push documents. And with all that automation we just looked at, all that functionality. So, and again, I think if you compare pricing with some of the other solutions out there, you'll be very pleased with the UnForm pricing model.
Awesome. This next question, I think, is certainly pertinent for anybody that's running a heritage software, E+ or Fax. Mm-hmm. If I currently own UnForm Print Management and I move to a different ERP, can I still use it?
Absolutely. So you can continue to use UnForm for print management. And again, all those things we went over today. We've developed, we've got standard rule files for Cloud Suite. So it's, the difference is just what the output is from what you're using today. So it's just a matter of using a new rule file to generate the documents. But usage, yes, you can continue to use the application. Yes.
Awesome. I'm going to push a couple of the questions to the slide area here, Paul. And you can see that, right?
I do. So the question is, if we want to capture the data from vendor invoices and push it into SX into APECE, do we only need the image manager software to do that? Well, there's actually two components. There's you need the UnForm server, which is, has all the configuration tools and all that stuff in it. And then image manager based on, however many folks are going to be working in it. So yes, you don't have to have, don't necessarily have to have the print piece. You don't have to have the doc flow piece, but you do. There is a server component that goes along with image manager.
Okay, here's a couple of more. And there's the next question.
So what's the average timeline for implementation and user acceptance training for image manager and doc flow? Well, it's a good question, and it kind of depends on what you're using it for. Image manager, I think from a user's perspective, it's really once what we call the job definitions are built, which are what are you used to train it on a document. Once those are built, from an end user standpoint, they don't typically have to interact with those much. So the training on managing exceptions goes pretty quickly. Doc flow, again, it's similar. Once the flows are built out, they're getting an email, clicking on a link, and then they do whatever their particular step is. So the end user training goes pretty quickly. I will say there is a little bit of a learning curve on the image manager job definitions, but once you got it down, you can move very quickly on it. We have one of our customers implemented, and within 6 months had 440 vendors completely automated, vendor invoices coming into AP Invoice Center. So again, once you've got the job definition piece down, you can move very quickly. I hope that answered your question.
Okay, here's another one.
Will all of the UnForm tools demoed function as shown in an on-prem installation? Yes. So yes, so with SX version 12, yes. So actually awesome. What I'm showing, yeah, that's web UI was what I was showing. So.
And then the last one, do you have any way to help simplify and speed up printing from the cloud?
Oh, well, yeah, that's a good question. That's a product we didn't cover today, but we can certainly figure out a time to do that. But we have another product that simplifies. When you do move to the cloud, it can be, getting output to printers can be a challenge sometimes and require, setting up VPNs and some other, kind of tedious and expensive solutions. We've got a solution called Cirrus Print that can help streamline and make that migration to the cloud of your print output a lot faster and a lot easier. So be happy to, if you have any further questions, just send me an email or get in touch with your folks at Aktion, and we can set up some time to cover that.
Awesome, that's it. That's all the questions.
Well, good. That must mean we explained everything very well.
Or we're going to get a lot of questions afterwards, which is great. So that's pretty awesome. Yes. So, So, folks, thank you. And Paul, if you want to go ahead and say your thank yous, and then I'll wrap up and let folks how they can contact us. Yeah,
and again, thank you for the time today. And again, if you have any questions or would like to do a deeper dive into some of the things you saw today, just contact. Well, you'll see in just a minute who to contact. But contact the folks at Aktion. And again, they've been one of our resellers for a number of years, and they are very familiar with the products and how to do all this configuration. So you're in good hands.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. And thank you, everyone, for attending today. We hope you found value in it. And up on the screen right now is Jason's contact information. Please feel free to reach out to him. Or you can contact us on our website. Just use the contact button, and we're on there 24/7. So thank you, everybody, for attending. Paul, thank you. We'll definitely have more webinars like this. and you'll be hearing more from us about those events. So thank you, and everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.